pathways, two approaches that I kind of look at when it comes to the guillotine choke in general. My partner sits up, I block, and I hold here. And it's important, you can start with like what we call a chin strap, which means I get like the blade of my wrist touching his windpipe. That means that the fleshy part of my thumb is under his chin. So I've already penetrated that space between his chin and his chest. The thing here is I don't want to try to just squeeze his neck. You see my hips are facing the front desk, his hips are facing like the parking lot, the chain link fence. So when I fall, the angle's gonna be off. I won't have the angle. And see, he's gonna pass, and even if I hold, this hand comes out, heavy cross face, and I take a lot of trauma. So when you attack the guillotine, you have to have your hips in alignment. So there's two approaches we're gonna do tonight. One is more of a beginner approach, just so you train your body the proper alignment. Once I hook and I hold his neck, I get that chin strap, I'm actually going to push back and align my hips with him. I create some space so when Mark gets up, and right here, just like this. And his arm is in. We can go arm in, or we're gonna do arm out. And all I'm doing is I make sure my shoulder covers his neck. I bring my wrist up and elbow down, just like that. It's literally like a guillotine choke. I'm just going, you can even push your hand up, but we're not stretching back. I don't want to see the back of his neck. You stay in. The visual reference I always tend to use is I try to avoid having my hips go underneath. I'd rather have my hips a little bit ahead of my head and shoulder. That way when he pushes, he's pushing into the choke. This way, I lose a lot of my connection, and it can be impactful, like in terms of like they put their weight into you and then you take a lot of pressure just trying to finish. So I block, hold, and I just move. You see, there's nothing that stops me from moving. I just make sure I can put my feet on his hip, butterfly guard. We had the arm in. The arm in's a little bit more challenging. So we're just gonna go over the shoulder. I'm just grabbing like this, grabbing the blade of the wrist. Here, and elbow down, wrist up, and lean in. Because there's no arm, this one comes on pretty tight, so you want to be careful. The challenge here, though, is it's the same thing. Even if I align myself, and he's got good scrambling ability, good defensive ability, even with everything locked in, if he jumps past my guard, it's the same thing. You see how he can completely come forward, and there's no repercussions. So there needs to be a frame, a wedge. This is the one technique that a lot of times lacks a frame. So I'm gonna have you on your knees. You notice I envelop the shoulder on this side. There's nothing on this side. You'll notice if I turn this way, you can see where my hand is. It's not really over his shoulder. That's why it's easy for people to jump around. There's different ways of making a frame. I've seen different varieties, but I need to get something blocking. The one that works for me, I find it's pretty easy too to do. When you choke somebody, naturally your palm's gonna face you. The outside hand goes out, and you go fingertip to fingertip. Not palm to palm, literally like you're hanging by your fingertips. Then all you're doing is that hand goes over the top. So I'm going palm to palm. See where my arm is? Right down his spine. I'm not gonna do this very hard, and be careful, Mark, when you jump. Now when he goes to flatten me out, he's tapping. He hit a wall. This is, I've seen, there are different variations. People hold like this. There's different configurations. I'm very open-minded to how you create that frame, but there must be a frame blocking that shoulder. This guarantees that even if they pass your guard, they come forward, they push themselves right into a choke. So going back to the half guard position, I'm doing this. When I start to go back, I'm gonna let this arm go and I lock my frame. Now I can stay square to Mark and finish this way. But if he jumps, he jumps right into a choke. The movement though, just remember, palm to palm, fingertip to fingertip. When you choke, it's always, you're gonna see the palm of your hand. This one goes out. It feels a little awkward when you first do this, but as soon as you fold the elbow over, it becomes comfortable. It makes sense. So let's give this a go. I'll come around and help you guys out, but making a frame is essential when you attack from that. Okay? 1, 2, 3.